Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza from It's a Paul World. And all I can say is we have a very interesting guest for all of you today. I think you're going to learn a lot about, how to make sure that your legacy stays your legacy and where you want to go with it. We have Peter Lipsett, and he is with Organ Donor. Which one is it? All right.
Donors Trust.
Donors Trust. I'm just thinking maybe I could get a body part out of it. Anyway, so let's make sure that we welcome him with the right thing. So Peter, welcome, and make sure we have the right name. I just don't want people to go the wrong place.
We want whatever it takes to help people remember, and if an organ connects to it. But we are Donors Trust. So
Donors Trust. All right. Well, welcome, and Peter, what do you do for Donors Trust? And let's talk a little bit about the mission of Donors Trust and what Donors Trust is all about.
Sure. Yeah. Donors Trust is a donor advised fund community foundation, and we are focused on helping libertarian and conservative donors maximize their philanthropy in a smart, tax effective, secure way. We do that through donor advised funds, which, if you're not familiar with those, are like a charitable savings account. Put money in, get your tax deduction, kind of set the money aside to spend immediately or over time to the charities that you care about. And our little niche in the marketplace, our position, if you will, is for working with those right of center donors who care about limited government and personal responsibility and free enterprise and want to use their philanthropy to advance that. My job there is to help us grow, find new people, bring them in, make sure they can do what they need to do, and help lift all boats in the liberty movement.
So if I'm sitting here, let's dig in just a little bit deeper, and I want to, donate money. Why doesn't it just make sense that I just pick a charity, pick somebody that I want to, help and just, give them the money? What's the downside of that? What could happen, or what could go wrong?
So look, if that's the only way you're going to give, by all means, do it. What we're trying to do is cultivate a more strategic giver who's taking a longer term approach to their philanthropy. So say you bought Amazon stock back when it was $30. Very good, smart you. Now it's $3,000 some odd dollars, right? So you could sell that and take a tax hit on the capital gains, or you could, if you don't need that money, but you do want to give to charity, you can put it in a donor advised fund. You can give it directly to a charity too, but let's say you want to give to several charities, put it in a donor advised fund. You get the tax write-off at the $3,000, not the $30 basis. The capital gains goes away, and now you've got $3,000 or however many shares you put in to be able to give to charity. And we'll do the back end administration. So you come to us and you say, I want to give $5,000 to this cause, $5,000 to this cause. We say, great. We do the checking, make sure they're a good charity, send the money off. You can do it privately if you want. You can give them your full name and address if you want. You get to kind of turn that volume on and off as well on the privacy front. So that's just a few of the different benefits: the administrative, the tax benefit, plus the privacy piece.
So what does a typical client look like? Who fits into this? I mean, are people usually getting old, and they're getting ready to hear Dylan sing "Knocking on Heaven's Door"? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, it really ranges. I mean, I have an account, and I'm hopefully not knocking on heaven's door, but we have.
Hopefully not. The interview isn't quite over, so let's not walk to the light now. So okay,
right. We cultivate that younger donor, but also the folks who are in the prime of their career, but know they want to set some money aside for giving maybe later. Maybe they do a little now, but are going to do more later. And then there are those people who are looking towards their legacy and say, I know even after I'm gone, I want to make sure dollars are flowing to these charities, my charitable children, if you will. I want to make sure they get taken care of. And so they use a donor advised fund to put it in one place so that if that proverbial bus comes and takes them out tomorrow, they're working with a trusted source that has their money and is going to make sure those dollars go. So it really runs the gamut. What they all have in common is, at least with us, is both they're philanthropically inclined and they care about those liberty issues. Whether that's a big piece of their giving portfolio or a smaller piece, they don't want government to choose winners and losers. They think people can do it better.
So they can come in and they can work with you, and then their values get extended beyond themselves, or that legacy. That's the part of the push for that?
Yeah, I kind of, have you ever gone bowling at one of those
Yes.
lanes that has the bumper lanes so that you can't go in the gutter? So at the
Yes.
very least, we kind of serve as those bumper lanes that even if you're not throwing a strike right at, all of your giving is to Cato and Reason and the groups that are going to be at Freedom Fest, at the very least, it's not going in the gutter. Your dollars aren't going to trickle away into leftist causes or things that are working against your principles.
And what about this new administration? It appears that, and again, I always try to be respectful because he is the president, but I've nicknamed him Tax O'Biden. So, what are we looking at there? I mean, how is it going to affect so many people who want to give, and the taxes seem to be pretty onerous right now, or proposed at least?
The proposals are pretty rough, and there's a number of proposals. My CFO and I were talking about this yesterday as we actually have a session at Freedom Fest on Thursday at 2:10, focused on how do you mitigate the potential tax burden that may get imposed upon so many people, and how you can use philanthropy to kind of mitigate some of that. Because he's talking about capital gains increases. He's talking about extending the death tax. I don't know what else is in there, but it's a lot. But there are philanthropic ways to mitigate some of that. As long as you're a charitably inclined person, you can offset a little of it. But fortunately, none of it has gotten so far as to actually be a proposal yet. Maybe that buys us a little bit of time, but we think people need to be prepared and understand what's coming down the pipe. So whether it's this year or next year, they can make sure that they protect themselves, protect the charities they care about, et cetera.
Well, that's great. So what other sessions do you have? So one of the sessions is to talk about the tax implications that are going on right now. So that's one session. You have another session you're going to be doing?
We do. Me and our philanthropic advisor, Stephanie Lips, are doing one on Saturday. So hopefully people aren't sessioned out at that point. But on smart strategies to engage family in free market philanthropy. So how do you get that younger generation connected? How do you instill those values down? And if you're worried about instilling those values down, how do you then mitigate that? How do you carry on the legacy without your family? Using a donor advised fund or some other vehicle to make sure that the things you care about actually move forward. Ideally with your family. It's nice if you can move these things down to the next generation, get the kids and the grandkids to buy into this liberty view of the world. But we know that isn't always the case. But there's steps you can take to get there. So we're going to explore some of those.
Well, and I presume that one of the biggest things, of course, is that the people who have amassed some level of wealth, that what they want to do is they want to make sure that those things that they care about get taken care of, and hopefully they can show to their children and their grandchildren and whoever else is in their sphere of influence that this came about because of these kind of principles of liberty and capitalism, and this isn't going to diminish. In some ways, is only enhances society by making sure that it gets into the right hands and it keeps moving the message forward, and we don't seem to keep marching as we are inexorably towards the nanny government state.
Right. No, I mean, look, many of the greatest things that have happened in this country have happened because of philanthropy. Abolition ultimately was a philanthropic effort that then the government jumped in front of the parade of. Some things we shouldn't be very proud of, like prohibition, but that didn't jump into the mind of government one day. That was led by temperance movement. That was led by philanthropy. So philanthropy moved the needle in big ways, and the government likes to get in front of that parade later on. But our dollars today can actually do more, and that's why people need to get involved. And I think that's something that I call it the libertarian dilemma. That we think that our ideas are so self-evident that people are just going to naturally gravitate towards them, and so we aren't always necessarily out there pushing. And philanthropy is one way to overcome that dilemma: is to give dollars to these organizations that are out there helping other people connect to our ideas, whether it's in education and K-12 and higher ed, in grassroots movements and the academy, et cetera, so that, you don't have to spend all day trying to convince everybody, but there are good groups out there that can do it, and philanthropy can do that. And that can lead to long-term change.
Sounds like one of the things that you help do is leverage people's success in a way that they can take the values that they hold dear and expand them out. And as you say, they only have so much time. Every entrepreneur I've ever met is got more stuff to do than they have time. And this is one way to expand that message and continue to move it out.
Right. And look, the nonprofits, many of whom you'll see at FreedomFest, groups like Freedom Works or Americans for Prosperity or Reason, Cato, State Policy Network, on and on and on, are out there doing that work every day. We've had business leaders come to us and be like, I'm so glad that you guys are here at Donors Trust, because you guys know that philanthropy world. I know how to make money, right? I know how to do business.
Right.
But you know that philanthropy side. I care about it, but I don't know it. And having that humility is, I think, important to know. There's certainly business leaders out there who think if they can build a bajillion-dollar business, they can run a bajillion-dollar nonprofit. That's not always the case. Sometimes they can. Not always the case, but their dollars can go a long, long way towards those social entrepreneurs that are ready to move the needle.
So you have 2 sessions that you guys are going to be involved in, and you have a booth.
We got a booth. I hope everyone will come visit that. If you're going to be at Freedom Fest, we will have we kind of think of ourselves as Liberty's bank to a certain extent, because we work so closely with all these organizations. And so we will have our Liberty ATM, and actually in the welcome bag, there'll be a little sign up sheet that you can nominate a charity to win $5,000, a $5,000 grant. So one of these great Liberty advancing charities. So come to our booth, put that in. Also enter to win some other prizes. We tend to give away whiskey because our CEO is a bit of a whiskey connoisseur. And so I think we've got some good stuff lined up there. But so come for the whiskey, but also to give away, to help us give away some money to a good group.
Yeah, come for the whiskey, but donate to some worthy
Exactly,
cause. I like that. Yeah.
And we always have coffee at our booth too, because we know that you always need to pick me up.
Well, excellent. And then you're going to have a get together that's going to happen for a special part of it.
We have, on Friday night, we have our Future Philanthropist Happy Hour, which is focused on folks age 25 to 40 who know they care about philanthropy. They want to get involved in it. Maybe they don't have a lot of dollars right now to be able to give, but they care about that. That's really to promote our program called our Novus Society, Novus, Novus Society, that's focused on building that next generation of giver. And folks under 40 who are philanthropically inclined, but want to build their charitable muscles, join that. They can open a donor advised fund at lower cost, and we'll help them kind of build the habit. One of the things, the drums that I bang a lot is that philanthropy is a habit. You got to start, and the more you do it, the more you want to do it. And the more you want to do it, the better things that happen, both to you and also to society. And so we want to start that habit earlier. You shouldn't have to wait till you're 70 to start giving away to these groups. You can do it at 30 and start building some relationships that'll help you long term. And so that's what we're trying to promote. So if you're under 40, if you're going to be at Freedom Fest, go to donorstrust.org/freedomfest. There's a place you can sign up for that happy hour there, and we'd love to have you there. And that same link, donorstrust.org/freedomfest, has our whole schedule, our booth number. We hope people will come out and come hang out with us.
Well, sounds like that outreach that you're doing is kind of working off of that. If you want to, and when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 30 years ago or today. And therefore, if you are young enough, today's the day to plant that tree. Today's the day to get that started and start it growing, and also have that habit. I run into people all the time, and Peter, I'm sure you do, who say, if I only had money, I would give it away. And charity really starts by when you don't have any money, when you don't really have a lot going on, and you give it away, because that way you develop a habit. And what you find out is the world is really a different world. In my own experience, it's a different world when you do that. Some days you can do more, some days you do less, but I really enjoy the idea of what you're saying, which is to try to give everybody, and maybe they didn't have that in their situation where they grew up, or their circumstances, and they haven't thought about it. So in some ways they're getting exposed to some new ideas and ways to deliver that charity and what that means. So I applaud you guys for doing that. That sounds exciting.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, it doesn't matter at what point in your life you get started. Yes, we want to encourage people to do it sooner rather than later. But one of the things we know about the people who are at Freedom Fest are they are passionate and they are committed to a set of ideas already. Now it's just a matter of, for those who aren't already doing it, putting some dollars behind those ideas. As you say, John Paul, even if it's just a small amount of money, it begins to build and it begins to go a long way. And there's some great social science research out there too that says givers earn more, they have wider social networks, they are perceived as better looking. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to giving. This is real research. It's in science, John Paul. So giving is good.
Excellent, excellent. So, I want us to do just something a little bit different, because if you're out there right now and you've listened to what Peter has had to say, and this has been, I think, very interesting. It's different than I'm sure what you've heard in other ways in other places. I've had firebrand people on, and I've had some people who have causes they're driving. You're really touching a lot of different groups. So you're not telling people where they should donate the money. You're helping facilitate that donation and getting it to the right place and giving them a certain sense of assurance. Am I capturing that the right way?
Right. At the end of the day, we are a service provider. We are, administering those grants. But we're not. There are a lot of donor advised funds out there, and some of them with the commercial banks literally are just processing grants. That's all they're doing all day. We are a little bit different in that we're a mission-focused donor advised fund. We have a cause. We have a purpose, right? And Donors Trust wants to limit government, wants people to take responsibility, wants free enterprise to win the day. And that's a big tent of organizations. And frankly, that can mean that one of our donors is giving to one side of the immigration debate, and one of our donor is giving to the other side of the immigration debate, but they're both coming at it from that idea that the public sphere is going to decide that, not government. And
right.
That's what we want to foster. Now, that said, one of the ways we're unique is that we always ask for a donor intent statement when somebody opens an account with us. We do that because we want to know what they care about. Because if a new organization crosses our desk that somebody might be interested in, well, we want to tell them about it. And we're continuing to grow bigger and bigger, but we're still small enough that we can reach out to folks and say, hey, I just learned about a group. It's right in your wheelhouse. Not saying you need to give to it, but you may want to look at it because it seems to advance the things you care about. That's when we get really excited. That's what we really like to be able to do, is make those connections, because it brings more money into this movement, which means our cause gets a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and hopefully can find some new pockets out there to bring people our way.
Well, excellent. Now, I know that some people are out there who have year after year said that maybe this year I'll go to Freedom Fest. And it sounds like you've been to more than a few. So how many Freedom Fests have you been to? Do you remember?
Well, not counting last year where I had my plane tickets and was ready to go, and then they canceled it 2 weeks out. I think I've only been to, 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
So this is my fourth or fifth.
But you're a veteran. I've been going since 2013, with the exception of the COVID shutdown. So what I'd like you to do is talk about why somebody should go to Freedom Fest. What does it mean to go to Freedom Fest? I mean, clearly, in an age of the net, to the age of streaming, the age of all of that, I mean, still some concern about travel. Why should somebody go to Freedom Fest, Peter? Because I mean, obviously, you're going there, you're excited about it, but talk about that and see if we can get a couple more people to get there. And by the way, I have directions for all of you out there. I have exact directions on how to get to Freedom Fest, and I'm going to deliver those in just a little bit. But Peter, why don't you tell us why they should go?
Yeah, well, one, it's in South Dakota. And how many people have been to South Dakota? You check that off your bucket list. That's a big one, right? That's a win, so that's an easy one. But two, one of the great things about coming is, the people there come at the world in the same way you do. There's not some of the pretense or walls you have to put up in your day-to-day life to kind of feel out if people are actually, think government's a really great thing or not a great thing. That at the very least, they're going to question government. Some are going to be more conservative, some are going to be more libertarian, but you can have that honest discussion. And people are there to have those honest discussions. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to be in a room with people of like mind, open minds, willing to have discussions, and getting to interact with them in just a nice way that you might not get in your daily life. Plus, just getting out of the house at this point is great. We're going to wherever an airplane will fly us, we'll go at this point.
Well, I think those are really important points. The people that you meet, you're going to get a chance to go and meet a lot of different people. I know that you may say, oh, booths, I don't know if I want to go by, what's going to happen. This is different than any other event I've ever been to, Freedom Fest. First off, very open people, very accessible people. Walk up and talk to Peter, talk to all the other people in the booth. You're going to have a great time. You're going to talk to a lot of great people. And the most important thing is you're going to probably meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise. And the accessibility factor is so high, it is not even funny. I mean, I've done a lot of speaking in my life, and lots of times you get up on that big stage, you come in through the back entrance, you walk out of the green room, you get on stage, you get done, and you're gone. Elvis has left the building. But Freedom Fest, there's a lot of mulling around, a lot of talking. And if you like a vigorous debate and not to feel like you're isolated, Freedom Fest is a great place to do it. Now, let me give everybody the secret directions of how to find this, because I know some people say South Dakota. Where is that? So what you do is find an interstate highway and find one that goes north and south from wherever you are, and then go north until you hit this thing called Interstate 90. And now determine, are you east or west of South Dakota? Shouldn't be too hard if you're smart enough to be listening to this right now. And then make a turn and get on Interstate 90 and drive until you get to Rapid City, South Dakota. You don't need Google Maps. All you need to do is get to Interstate 90. There's not a lot of, they don't even have another intersection. This is not like when we were doing Vegas and people go, well, where in Vegas and all that other stuff. It's easy to get lost in Vegas. I will tell you that it's going to be easy to find South Dakota. Peter, last few words and what you might want to say to somebody that says, yep, this sounds like something about, donor trust and why this would work for them. Give it to me.
So yeah, Donors Trust is here to help people who care about small government, free enterprise, to advance their philanthropy, make it easier, make it more secure for the long term. And we want to be that helper. If that's not the right tool for you, just give. Find a way to give, because your philanthropic dollar matters to the ideas that we care about. But if you so just start giving, and if you're ready to do that in a strategic way, we'd love to talk to you at Donors Trust about how to do that.
Well, I just want to thank all of you who are out there who have gotten this far. Peter Lipsett has been a great guest, and even put up with me being a little quirky in a lot of different ways, which I am. And it is donortrust.org, donortrust.org. I got it right this time. And all I can say is we're going to look forward to seeing all of you at Freedom Fest, and make it a great day. Go out and be charitable, give to somebody else, help somebody else out, because you know what? You'll get a lot of reward by just doing that. I'm John Paul Mendoza with It's a Paul World, and we'll be seeing you in South Dakota.